So can you start out by telling us your name and spelling it for us?
My name is Ellen Mann, Ellenmann.
And Ellen, what's your connection to Kent State?
I was a student at the Kent State University High School. In 1970, I was a senior.
And what's your memory of the events surrounding May 4th, 1970?
There was me and two friends left the school through the art room door. They saw us leaving, and we weren't supposed to leave the school. But we all decided early in the morning that we would go to the rally. So we proceeded down to the Commons, and we were standing on the side more towards Johnson Hall, and all the action was like over towards the Victory Bell. So we were like observing, and then the guardsmen started shooting the tear gas, and I got tear gas. So I went into Johnson Hall, and I had an old Army shirt of my brother's, and I got that wet. And then I came out the other end. Well, my two friends said, "Okay, we're getting out of here." They went back to school, and I proceeded on by myself. And I walked to the top of the hill, and I was standing right outside Taylor Hall at the like, I don't know which entrance this was, but it was right by the gate. There would be a gate there. And I was watching as the guards went down, and they turned and they came back up. And when they got to the pagoda, they turned, but I wasn't looking at them when they started shooting the bullets. I was looking straight ahead at Joseph Lewis, who was standing about 4 or 5 feet from me. And he had, of course, everyone knows he was giving them the finger. And the next thing I know, he was on the ground. I don't remember hearing bullets. Maybe I blocked him out. I don't know. So I ran over to him, and after they shot him, I watched him as he fell, and he yelled, "Oh my God, they shot me." He was very shocked. So was everybody. And after the bullets flew, it was so quiet. And then the screaming started. People were wailing and hollering, and it was pandemonium then after the first few moments. And I knelt by his side, and we took his pants down because he had a hole right on the side of his hip about this big, and it was bleeding. He was bleeding profusely. So we took the jeans down, and we used my shirt as a compress, and we put pressure on it, and it seemed like forever for them to come and get him. And I was holding his hands the whole time, and he kept trying to sit up to look to see where he was shot, but then he went into shock because I stared into his eyes for a long time. And then they came with the ambulance, and they took him off and took him to the hospital. And then for 40 years, I wondered about him. So.
Have you seen him again since then?
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I met him last month. My two friends and I drove down to Scappoose, which isn't too far from where I live in Tacoma. And we met him down there, and it was a very healing experience for me. Because when you wonder about somebody for 40 years, he's a very nice man. And I told him his parents could be proud of him, because he told me that, of course, his parents kind of thought he was to blame for, he was out there, so, it was, they should have shot more thing, The aftermath of what happened, I had my stepfather's cousin's daughter was married to one of the guardsmen, Dennis Breckenridge, that fired his gun that day, and she called me on the phone and told me I tried to kill her husband, and I said, how could I wasn't the one with the guns and the bullets. How could I have killed your husband? Well, he had some kind of panic attack, and he got a heart attack. So I had phone calls and the FBI and the whole bit afterwards. But every year since that had happened, probably about 2 months out of the year, 40 years is a long time. Now all that powder you put on is for nothing, because look. Thanks. I don't know what else I could say.
How do you think the experience at Kent State, your experience there, has impacted your life?
It's hard to say because it's impacted my whole life. It's something you don't forget. It's something you think about the government about. You wonder why. You don't stop wondering why it happened. I've spent a lot of years collecting different stuff, related to Kent State. I have all the books and magazines and pictures and buttons, and eBay's really good for that. You could find all kinds of stuff on there. So,
do you think all the truth has come out about what happened that day?
Absolutely not. No. And it won't. I don't think it ever will. I don't think you'll have people like me are telling their stories, but other people, the people with the guns, I don't think you're going to see too many of them, even 40 years later. Even when most of the anger's gone, there's still the hurt there. I remember after it happened and I was walking, I had to walk back up to the school. And I walked by a line of guardsmen, and I'm a polio survivor. So that December before that happened, I had surgery on my ankle, and I still recuperating from that. I could hardly walk. And I had a lot of trouble with wearing shoes on my feet. I still do. So I had my shoe off on my left foot, and I was kind of limping along. And the look on the guardsmen's face, they were laughing, they were smirking. And at one point I yelled at them, "What are you laughing about? You just killed people." And then one of them, probably an officer, said, "Move along, ma'am." So I moved along. I kept moving. I got back to the school, and I went in, and of course it was really locked down then. And I tried to leave, and my brother who was a freshman at that time, or maybe he was a sophomore, I can't remember. He was waiting outside for me, and I said, "I'm leaving." They said, "No, you're not. The school's in lockdown." I said, "My brother's right there. I'm leaving." So I said the F I'm not, and I walked out. So then I was expelled from school. I never graduated from Kent State High School. I went back to public school and got my diploma a year later. Because they didn't want me back in. I was subversive to the underclassmen, a bad influence. Probably because I told them to go fuck themselves and left the building. So anyway, this is the sweater I was wearing. I'll hold it up for you. It's very old. I dug it out of my mother's cedar chest. The hippies wore all kinds of different stuff. And it had belonged to my grandfather when he was in college. So I wore that, and I'll show you this. This is my magazine. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at this picture over the years. That's me right there. And I had mousy brown hair. I see this on eBay all the time. This magazine with that picture.
How old were you at the time?
18. I was just over 18.
What do you think the impact of what happened on the campus had on the town?
The town was so anti-student. That Friday night where they had the little bonfire in the street and they kind of broke windows, I think that set the town against the students. That's just set the mood for the whole thing. And when they were shot, I can't tell you how many people said they should have shot more. And my two sisters both still live in Kent here. And I don't know. I think that people were really polarized after that happened. And of course they shut the college down. It was A bad scene all around. I didn't go to any of that stuff. I mean, I wasn't at the burning of the building or any of those things. I was just kind of an observer. That's the way I thought of it. I wasn't chanting or throwing tear gas back or any of that stuff. And there were a lot of people just watching to see what was going to happen, what was going on.
Who do you think is responsible for what happened?
I think Governor Rhodes. He had a political agenda. I think Nixon. I think they wanted to put an end to all anti-war demonstrations. Killing black people, that isn't going to do anything. But you go and you kill 4 white kids, and boom, there you go. And sure, they had the demonstrations, the college protests and campus shutdowns and strikes and all that, but the war protests kind of shut it all down. That's the way I look at it. And I had been to the November prior, they had a big anti-war rally in Washington, D.C., and my brother put me on a bus from Kent State to go down there. And that was huge. You don't see that anymore. Today they have the anti-war rallies, but it's just not the way it was back then. I've been to a couple of them, and it's all people my age. The young people, like, well, there's no draft. There was a draft back then, and that scared people. That's why so many joined the National Guard or went to Canada. A lot of my friends I had several people that I knew that were killed in Vietnam. My brother had been in the Army. He was in the Army during the Vietnam War. All of that, it's just, it seems like ancient history now, 40 years ago, but every year it would come back to me, every year. Starting probably, I would really start thinking about it in April, the whole month of April. Then I would drag all my pictures out and make everybody look at them. My son says, that's the main event in your life, not mine. But
why do you think it's important that the truth come out now?
I think it's important for the people that were there, the people that were wounded, the families of the people that were killed. I think we still would like to know why they did it. Why? Was there an order to fire? That's people kind of think that. I mean, from everything I've read and I know. But I think it would be good I would like to know. I wish the truth would come out. I really wish it would. I wish somebody would say, okay, 40 years has gone by. I think I can talk about this now. And that would be very healing for them, too. I can't imagine what the National Guard, I mean, I was just there and witnesses. I can't imagine what it'd be like to actually have shot somebody and to think about that the rest of my life, because I would. You can't forget something like that. I mean, they joined the National Guard to avoid from having to go kill people. I don't know.
From your vantage point, did it seem like there was an order to fire?
Well, they shot all at the same time. And to me, that seemed like, how could they all start at the same time and finish at the same time? It doesn't make sense. So I don't know. I was standing pretty close to him, but in my mind believe me, I've thought I've thought and thought and thought. If I could, I can't put it together with them standing there. It happened fast.
What do you think needs to be done to heal the wounds that were created on that day?
I think you're doing it now. I think this helps a lot of people to be able to go and talk about it and so people don't forget what happened, because I don't want the people to forget what happened. And we're not getting any younger, so. This is the first memorial I've been to And I lived in the area. I didn't move to the West Coast till 1975. So, and I just couldn't bring myself to go to even move to the area. When I was a student at Kent State, I used to go to the bottom of Taylor Hall to the photo labs, but I just couldn't walk around the side and look at that place.
What does it mean for you to be back here now?
Well, that remains to be seen. Now, when I'm done with everything I'm going to do here, and I go home, I hope to have a peace of mind.
Have you had an opportunity before to share your story in a public forum?
No. Just, my mother worked for the Akron Beacon Journal, so they had the reporters were there talking to me and that kind of stuff, but no, I didn't. I have an appointment at the university to do this on Monday, but this is the first one.
How does it feel to be able to share your story today?
It feels good. It lightens my heart a little. Because now I know that when I'm gone, maybe. And plus Joseph told me it's important for me to do this, so I wanted to do it for him too.
Well, thank you so much for coming to share your truth with us today.
You're welcome. My pleasure.